Guys, welcome to the Outer Nexus. We are going to be going over the Crew 10 capsule landing in the ocean.
Hours, so it really gives you a sense of why that plasma builds up on. Because those drogue parachutes will slow it down from 350
So I guess that's
to
the heat shield
about 119
of the
miles per
capsule
hour.
itself.
We can see
15 kilometers. Brace for drogue window.
There they are in the capsule.
we can see seat rotation happening inside the capsule. Great to get those first views of our crew members.
The Boeing one, I think it was.
Once again, the capsules are going about 350 miles per hour when the drogues are deployed. Those drogue parachutes that we manufacture here in-house are going to slow the spacecraft down to 119 miles per hour.
And I think that's pretty indicative of Boeing in general with all their planes blowing up.
And that occurs about 6,000 feet
becoming this
above
bureaucratic behemoth. Like they might be out of the space industry entirely
deployment
after
at
this.
2:53 p.m. Pacific, so we should see it any second now. And there you are getting a great view of Crew 9 inside Dragon Freedom as it returns back to Earth. We are awaiting the drogue deploys. This view coming from the WB-57 high altitude
and it really
plane.
speaks to
and there you see it on your screen, drogue deployment.
You know, what do you think about this, Billy?
I haven't been following this one too much. It is an interesting take
the crowd
on
here
this
very
because,
excited
like you said,
as
the
Dragon Freedom
contractor
continues
that
to
we
make
had,
its way
you know,
back to planet
that was
Earth.
supposed to go up there, Boeing.
Yeah.
Couldn't do such a public mission.
Yeah.
And that is an issue.
Yeah.
So they sent them up there to go get them.
Yeah.
And everything seems to be going well. Which is what you want to happen. There's very little margin for error on these kinds of missions.
Yeah.
And
that's what I was worried about because man, these things are dangerous when they have real people in them.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't even want to talk about this until I knew they landed in the ocean.
Right. It's scary for them, even right up to the last moment because you can train for this forever and ever, but you're really only going to do this a couple times in your lifetime.
Yeah. And it's so impressive the fortitude that these guys had up there to last that long. I'm wondering what the lasting medical effects of this will be. They'll probably be able to do a bunch of studies on this because this is, I think there have been astronauts that have been up there for much longer. Like Mark Kelly, I think he's been up there for 350 days, something like that.
There have been ones that have been up there longer.
But these guys were not meant to be up there for that long. They were only up there for like 60 days or 180 days or something.
No, but from my, what I heard in the background for stuff like this, they're not, even though the missions are normally planned to be longer.
Yeah.
There's nothing really different about them being up there longer, except that they had been up there longer. So they weren't like given anything, to be like, oh yeah, here you go. Here's different things because you're going to be here longer.
Yeah.
So there really isn't anything different that way. When you're talking about the physiological effects that this will have on the astronauts.
Yeah.
But yes, they're definitely, every one of these guys is going to be checked out every single way that is imaginable medically.
Yeah.
There are a whole bunch of different effects for being in space.
Yeah.
One of the big ones that they're definitely going to be checked for is the eyes.
Yeah.
The eyes do not do well in space.
Yeah.
From my understanding, it's the pressure that's in your eyes is altered.
Yeah.
And it takes months and months for it to go back to the way it is. I heard it's like 9 months to a year.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Even once it does, it's more like if you ever went back into space, you are now more susceptible to it. You'll get it faster when you go back the next time.
Yeah.
And so they're finding that to be a problem.
Doesn't gravity do something to your bone density too?
Gravity also affects your bone density. It also affects your circulation,
right?
Because you're
circulate. I've always wondered about the circulation part.
Your heart is expecting all of your fluids to run down.
Yes,
and they are not. They are just basically staying in place.
Yeah.
So it's a different load on the heart, and it's not really. We weren't meant for it.
Yeah, we weren't meant for that.
So again, they're looking at different ways of doing it. I actually heard a short clip from one of the main doctors involved in that recently, and one of the things that there's touchdown
right there,
and one of the things that they're definitely looking at for that is to build into the suit.
Yeah,
basically the suit would squeeze the astronauts.
Yes.
And this would basically act as a big version of a compression sock.
Yeah.
And keep your blood pressure basically the same as it would be here on Earth.
Yeah. And on that, that subject in particular, I just think it's really interesting, the kind of design that SpaceX is trying to take with these. And this is kind of across the board with Tesla and stuff like that. They want to go with the sci-fi aesthetic. They really want it. And I think it works because it's like what you were talking about. We are going to need space suits that look more like that. They're going to have to be more maneuverable. They're going to have to be more compressed onto your body and have the features that you're talking about. And it's totally possible now. Now with metamaterials and different manufacturing processes and, composite materials, all sorts of shit, 3D printing, we could make fucking Iron Man suits at this point.
Well, if you ever look into these suits, each one of these suits costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions up to, sometimes if not more. They are extremely expensive suits.
Yeah.
And they're basically not suits in the classical way what we would say them anymore.
Yeah.
They're basically small vehicles.
Yes. And that's how they describe them in the video. They are your own environment.
Yeah.
And that's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Because when you're an astronaut, the way you get into your suit is, at least for the ones that you go out into space in, you open it from the back.
Yes.
And you crawl in through the back.
Yeah.
But when you open it up back there,
this is a good picture.
Yeah, it looks like a vehicle. Like there is components in that suit.
Is there? Let's see. Let's see if we can find it. The inside spacesuit. Inside? Maybe maybe interior. I don't think they'll have a picture of the interior of this thing.
No, there are some out there.
Yeah.
But they're not a lot because a lot of people don't focus on the suit, even though it's an important part of, going into space. Like there's so much that goes into these suits.
Yeah, and I think this is a great example of and this goes back to the fundamental need for a shakeup at NASA and what NASA is. For a long time, NASA were like the gatekeepers to space. And for a lot of people, that's how they viewed space. We can only really get into space through the government, through NASA. And if they're not doing it, it's not happening. And they just have these kind of outdated suit designs that are just bulky and inefficient. And then you have, a need for new suit designs, like SpaceX. That's the future right there. That's what you can get in private industry. That is that suit is designed for the need to expand into space, not just as a test or a research thing, but it's meant for missions, real missions into space. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. I actually haven't gotten to see much more on the SpaceX suit.
Yeah.
Most of mine, background for knowledge comes from the NASA suit.
Yeah.
But
I think the NASA suit is more, it has more features. The SpaceX suit is not, I don't think they could take that on the moon, but the design of that suit is the future of spacesuits.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's, it's tuned down to be what it needs to be at the moment.
Exactly.
And it's it's rated for space.
Yeah.
So, it's got to be good enough to keep the astronauts alive. It is a big commercial no to have your astronauts die for anybody.
Oh God, yeah.
So,
yeah, that can survive decompression in space.
Yeah.
So it is definitely a spacesuit. Maybe it could survive on the surface of the moon. But like I said, this is the direction spacesuits are going. And I'm only expecting them to get more and more streamlined. Once we get things like body gloves and we get these polymers down. Yeah, I mean, it just speaks volumes for the effectiveness of having a commercial space trade, being able to do this kind of innovation that's not locked away in labs somewhere where you just come out with this big, bulky, shitty design. You have nice, clean designs and more technology. Like in that capsule, they have tablets they're using. The interior is all streamlined. It doesn't look like the inside of a fucking 1970s like water heater. You know what I mean? I don't even know how to like. It was crazy. This is all clean. This looks like something out of Star Trek or something, or Mass Effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
we have the ability to do that now, and that's it. More efficient things are going to look like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for the best for space flight. I think it's where we need to, make our plans for.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're ever going to see.
Well, I don't know.
Commercial space flight.
I don't know if we'll see commercial space flight, but we're definitely going to see the humanoid robots go up there first. I fully expect that. Yeah. You know what I mean? But again, this all stems from, in my opinion, a shakeup at NASA, and the Trump administration really wants to have a focus on this. And we had these old guys running NASA, kind of like just keeping it chugging along as a bureaucracy. I mean, he got the James Webb Telescope into space. Don't get me wrong, but it seems like NASA leadership has just kind of been kicking the can down the road, managing the bureaucracy, managing facilities, launch pads. I mean, NASA was essentially a defunct space agency until SpaceX started renting out its launch pads. And it's just the way things, that was like over 10 years ago. It's just the way things are going now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we had Bill Nelson in charge.
Yeah.
He did what he could. I think that he didn't have, obviously when you're an someone involved with NASA, you are thinking about the future. You like space to a degree.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was ambitious enough.
No, this is a post for him. Yeah. This is like the post right before he retires.
Yeah.
And like I said, he got the James Webb up there. That's great, but otherwise I don't think he was wholehearted about this. But this administration seems to be, because they are putting in this guy. Now he's yet another technogarch billionaire. Although he is, in fact, a commercial astronaut, an actual one, an FAA regulated commercial astronaut. And the fact of the matter is, there is only a very small amount of commercial astronauts. So I just think that's really impressive. There's only about 30 of them in the entire world. And you have to go through an FAA process to become one, which I just think it's fascinating. What do you think about that?
I mean, my mind gets stuck on, I'm not going to lie, it gets stuck on the billionaire part.
Oh, yeah. No, well, that's the deal. It's going to be the billionaires first, and then we'll be able to go up, unfortunately.
Yeah,
we got to go through this dystopia part.
Oh yeah,
before
I'm just saying, like, when it's just like there's a commercial astronaut and there's very few of them, and it's like, I mean, if you have the time and the money and
the requirement to become a commercial astronaut is to be a billionaire first. That's how Bezos did it.
Yeah,
that's how this guy did it.
This reminds me very much of like the race car drivers.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you either have money or someone with a lot of money was your backer.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I could go on and on about that. Like listen, and I love rally car racing and I love the racing industry, but holy fuck, that's all it is. It's just a bunch of rich people racing cars around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I guess there might be some ragtag teams, but yeah, it's mostly rich people.
but when you really get down to it,
it's mostly rich people.
Yeah. So I mean, I do think it's very cool that we have a commercial astronaut.
Yeah.
You know, doing something with NASA.
Yeah.
But you know, I do hope for everyone that, you know, it's at least getting pointed in a direction where it's like, we're not just aiming for the top end racing, you know, line where it's like, no, this is never gonna be for you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I hope that it's more going towards like, let's get a plan set up where we can figure it out, and then let's start making this more available. Because, you know, if, you know, for Elon's plan where it's like, hey, you know, at least he's gonna go up to Mars.
Yeah.
If he
well,
wants,
that's what he said. He said he wants normal people to be able to go to Mars,
and that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Like, at least he'll make it.
Yeah.
But if he wants his plan to go through,
yeah,
he's going to have to make it so that regular people can make it.
So, and I think that's gonna be totally possible because, and this is gonna sound crazy, but I think we're gonna have shit like from The Fifth Element where it's like a giant cruise ship in space.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be totally a thing.
Or, you know, like a movie more my speed, like WALL-E.
Yeah. It's probably going to be more like WALL-E, and then we'll just stay in the spaceship as fat blobs.
Right,
you know what I mean? But Elon's plan is that he wants normal people to go to Mars sometime in the 2030s. And that would be amazing. And the only way that I could think that that would be possible is if there was some sort of massive infrastructure on the moon to facilitate a ship that you can stay in for like 3 to 6 months. It would have to be, the trip to Mars would have to be super comfy. You know what I mean?
Well, in my opinion, the only way to get a real Mars, like, you know, facility going.
Yeah.
With people
aside from secret underground bases,
aside from anything like that, is we need to first colonize the moon.
Yes.
And the reason being is that is where we could build ships that would be like that. And the reason you would want size in some of these matters is you're going to want to transport as many things in one shot as you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the deal with these rockets. And Elon really wants to, a lot of people, not just Elon, but many private space companies want to start sending up as many rockets as they can to facilitate these sort of things.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point, being able to catch these rockets again, to be able to reuse them, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, it's hard enough to re-land on Earth.
Yeah.
You know, you have Earth's gravity, the atmosphere will tear a ship up.
Yeah.
The heat is intense.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you only had to, most of the time at least, go to the moon.
Yeah.
You know, then you're
well, see, that's the thing, is that, you know, hold on, let me pull this thing up. Let me pull this Boeing space plane. What is it? X?
I forget. It's
37. Yeah, 37B. Okay, here we go. This is it right here. Where is the picture? What is that? There it is. There it is. Okay, let me see. Open image in new tab. Let me just zoom into that. So that's definitely not low Earth orbit.
No.
And that's a space plane. So this is the Boeing X-37B space plane. It's been up there for a couple 100 days doing weird stuff.
It looks like a drone.
Yes.
Had a baby with a shuttle.
It definitely looks like a drone shuttle. Yeah. I don't think this is manned. No, it's not. It's a drone.
Yeah.
But you take this concept, okay? You just take this concept of a space plane. You build the drone of this thing and keep launching them and testing them and get it to a platform where it's stable, where you can put humans in it and shoot them out of maglev tubes. That's what China wants to do. China wants to shoot space planes out of maglev tubes to get them into space.
Here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But I think you could and probably should, for most intents and purposes, not do stuff from Earth.
What do you mean? Well, you got to get off of Earth somehow.
No.
There's got to be an easy way to get off.
But yeah, there has to be a good way. I'm saying you can design a ship specifically just for like it gets off Earth.
Oh, get off. Yeah.
And it goes to the moon.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's what you would need. You would need something. You would need some kind of system. And honestly, you would need like maybe a designated byway in that space so that nothing else goes in there.
Yeah.
And it's designated launches going to the moon and back.
Yeah. And that way you're not building a ship for two different purposes.
Right.
Really. You're building a ship that gets off Earth and returns to Earth, and then you're building a ship that goes places you want to go, such as Mars.
Exactly.
And that really would help the cost, at least for ships, because you're not building, again, an all-purpose ship that has to do everything.
Yeah.
And I think, again, I'm just pushing because I think the moon is the way to go, because it opens up so many things.
See, the thing is, it has to be the moon first, because Mars every 2 years is too far away from us. Is on the other side of the solar system.
Yeah,
which is just that's not happening. You know what I mean? So our closest point is definitely the moon. The moon base. We're gonna have cell phone networks up there. We're gonna have time zones up there. We're gonna have facilities up there. It's fucking happening, and this article from China is the pressure on the US to, get with the program, like it's this is all happening,
and I will say though, especially on an article like this, one of my favorite technologies is the railgun.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It's and this is a good way to show it's scalable.
Yeah.
Because
totally
it could be a gun.
Yeah.
Something that you fire.
Yeah.
But then you can just scale it up and you can shoot other things out of it.
Yeah.
Such as a shuttle.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to railguns, and that's not even the end of the sizing.
Yeah.
You could make these bigger.
Oh yeah. That's the thing. You totally can.
I think, and this is just going into speculation at this point, but I do think you could do the same thing on the moon to shoot things in, at least at the beginning, in different directions. We have the space.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And when you go out to like the asteroid belt, you could build one even in space.
Yeah.
To shoot things
back at you.
Yeah.
What you could do is you could build a facility on the moon. You could build a railgun on the moon to point at an asteroid that you want, and you shoot off a ship with self-replicating drones that can go out there and build a maglev system in deep space in the asteroid belt and mine the materials and shoot them back at the moon where we can catch them.
Yeah. So that you can, there's just a lot you could do with this technology.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. When you're in 0G, there's just a lot of weird shit you could get away with.
Yeah. Because it's not like, here on Earth where you throw something and then it falls down.
Yeah.
It is always...
There's orbits.
There's always orbits.
Yeah.
But once you kind of, figure those out, you can throw something and it'll just keep going.
It'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest problem would be the asteroids, though, because some of these things are just fucking immense.
Oh, yeah.
They'll just wipe you out. You know?
Well, they will, but... Also, one of the things they talk about in like the asteroid, belt is it's not as dense as people think. Like, the distance between the asteroids out there generally is quite large. Again, there are asteroids in a belt out there, but they're not. it's not like you generally see in movies where it's like, we're dodging and weaving most of the time. No, it's like there's miles between these things generally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be, it could be feasible.
Yeah.
What do you think about like building bases on asteroids? Like that sci-fi concept of building like a tavern on an asteroid?
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of I think a good idea in some ways.
Okay. So maybe I don't really know this much about it. Are the asteroids moving and bumping into each other, or do they just kind of stay away from each other in a field?
Well, the thing is, it's time based.
Okay.
So, like, yes,
yeah,
technically they are moving and bumping into each other.
Yeah,
but in a shorter amount of time, say you were going to the asteroid belt.
Yeah,
it may be many years between those bumps.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Yeah,
and if you built a tavern on one,
you could actually just defend it, really.
Well, yeah,
other asteroids.
That's what you can basically, or you could just put little things on it where it moves a little bit.
It moves a little bit. Yeah, like a ship itself.
Yeah.
And
then you kind of just you didn't want, if you got there,
you
wouldn't necessarily have to build the thrusters into the thing.
Yeah.
You could just build a dock that holds your ship, it.
Yeah.
And that way you could just use small little bursts from that to push it out of the way.
Exactly. You could use the ship to grip you could design a ship that grips the asteroid and is able to move it around.
Or the asteroid grips.
Yeah, exactly. And that's interesting. Because like there's also the concept of these sort of things turning into their own ships where, there's enough colonists living on one of these that they just turn it into its own ship.
Yeah, in a way. And it could be that way.
Yeah.
Because that's where the materials are.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So you could just build a ship like that.
Yeah.
Generally though, I think if you're going for any long, not that wouldn't happen or couldn't happen. It's I think both are up for debate.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to do any kind of long term, you're generally going to make a man-made type space station.
Yeah. Hold on, let me see. I just saw this one article. Yeah, here we go. What do you think about this? Here.
So Mars could have an ocean's worth of water beneath its surface.
Beneath its seismic surface.
Yeah.
Stupid ads, goddammit.
So, I mean, you would hope, because that is one of the...
Yeah, persuasive new evidence.
Yeah.
That's what MSN says.
That is one of the materials that I'm not going to say is the biggest waste. Water is one of the biggest things we'll need on any planet we go to.
Yeah.
We're made of, a huge percentage of water.
Yeah.
But it's one of the most wasteful things to have to carry.
Yeah.
It's a liquid, which means you're not compressing it.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to take its full weight, from wherever you want to wherever you're going.
Yeah.
And it's not on the moon, really.
Yeah.
If there is, they're small. They're saying there could be small amounts, or large-ish amounts, but small compared to Earth.
Yeah.
On the polar caps of the moon.
Yeah.
But
there's water there?
I believe they said there could be small amounts of ice water.
Yeah.
But it's one of the things that, like, every time we have a mission to move something from the Earth to the moon, there will be a designated section for water.
Okay.
To be moved.
Obviously. Yeah.
And it's like, if it's already on Mars.
Yeah. That makes things way easier. Yeah. And that's what this thing is saying. It's saying about 10 miles below the surface, there are huge pockets, maybe even oceans of water, which is also the same theory about Earth, that there's, deep beneath our surface, there are ocean-sized pockets of water.
Yes.
On the Earth.
On the Earth.
And what's interesting about that is if you go into these cave systems, some of these cave systems that have been locked away for like 100 million fucking years, they'll find like weird animals in there.
Yes.
They'll find like divergent shrimp that looks totally different from anything else.
Yeah.
You know, because they have just been evolving in whatever direction that is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that would be very interesting. And that's another, you know, basis for like maybe this could be a basis for how alien life works. But the fact of the matter is, you know, we have this example on Earth, probably on Mars, and we know it's on Europa. We know there's oceans on Europa. And I am wondering what's in those things.
Yeah. I mean, we're eventually going to find out.
Yeah.
And
because this just came out, by the way. This is like, oh, okay, well, I guess this is happening now.
Yeah.
That's finds its first carbon dioxide and like large amounts on multiple planets because we have the James Webb telescope now. Now we can see all this shit.
Yeah.
So now it's pretty obvious that we're heading in a certain conclusion here.
But one of the things that I would bring up for like you know, water on different planets is we would consider that to be one of the basis of life for what we know life to be. And I do think it's very important. I think we have a little divergent ideas on this one.
Oh, go for it.
We do not contaminate the water, as in we don't bring our own life over, and then it's like, oh, we found life. Oh, but there's a possibility that we just brought it with us.
Oh, you're talking about the microbe shit.
The microbes.
Here's the deal, Billy. I have to break this to you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to break this to you as gently as I possibly can. Nobody gives a fuck about microbes. That's it. Nobody gives a fuck about microbes.
I think people
That's
do.
it. But maybe NASA does. Sure. Okay. We'll let those guys worry about it. But otherwise, I mean, unless it's like a deadly pathogen or some shit. Okay. All right. Okay. You have a point. But when people are talking about this subject, when the normal common man is talking about this subject, they're talking about things that look like aliens on other planets, like a weird space whale thing, like they're talking about aliens. You know what I mean?
You're saying they're
like
talking about
like macro life, animals. You know,
but I think micro life is just as important.
Listen, but the thing is, we have examples. We could find that on Mars, like proto structures, you know, and on the moon and shit of these weird little proto microbes. You know what I mean?
We'll see.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not trying to argue or anything. It's just, you know, it's my whole thing is I don't think anybody gives a fuck about microbes. I mean, I get it. The scientists care about microbes, but the normal common man, when you're trying to sell space, when NASA is trying to say that we sent out a probe and found microbes, nobody gives a fuck. We want humans in space finding aliens. That's what the common man wants out of this deal. I'm just as a little twist there.
Right. Right. If you're selling the newspapers, I guess you want the
that's why they do the headlines. They're like, could there be aliens? And then at the end of the article, there's no aliens. Yeah.
But carbon dioxide is also a big one.
Yeah.
You know, that's what will build up an atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know, on planets like ours.
Yeah.
It'll also do the same thing, obviously, on Mars.
Yeah.
So if you were going to terraform planet, you know, that's similar in space to where ours is at, you would need carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
And it's also important to mention that it is needed we breathe oxygen.
Yes.
But the plants that produce our oxygen need carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
So,
which is interesting. Because do you think that might suggest that they could have plant life on those planets? Because there's carbon dioxide signatures?
Well, I mean, plant life would also be considered from like our last conversation now, macro life.
It would be. Yes.
So I would say no. But there's things like, you know, algae and
algae,
stuff like that. That could happen. But we'll see.
Yeah.
But there's carbon dioxide on different planets, and it is needed. It's not a, you know, trash thing like we've heard, you know, for a long time where it's like, oh, it needs to just be gotten rid of. We need it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's an important one.
Yeah. But I think that pretty much sums up everything we wanted to talk about today, unless you had anything else.
No, I think that's good.
I think we're good. All right. We'll see you next tomorrow night, and we will be going over the JFK files. Get ready for that shit.
Yep, they were just
released. Just released. We'll see what happens. See you later, guys.